What's happening, everybody? Welcome
Hey
to week.
guys.
Welcome to week 13. Uh, you know the drill at this point. Start, sit, help for Saturday. Whatever you guys need for lineup assistance. I have Will joining me today. Will, thanks for popping on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having
At
me
a
again.
yeah, of course, at a critical time, with the fantasy playoffs fast approaching. In all likelihood, your trade deadlines have passed. So what you have is what you're rocking with as far as your team. We're here to help you get there as far as a win, sort out your most optimal starting lineup. If you've clinched a playoff spot, fantastic. Let's make sure that our roster is in the optimal shape for the fantasy playoffs. If you haven't clinched a playoff spot yet, we're here to help out with that. So we'll sort out any lineup questions that you may have, and yeah, hopefully get you guys some wins. We will, as always, member questions come first. So as I see members pop in, that is a perk of being a member of the channel. Members will get first priority as far as questions getting answered. If you send a super, you don't have to, but if you're feeling generous or so inclined, those will also be line jumpers as far as questions getting answered. And then we'll get to everybody else. So just ask for some patience there. As we move through questions. I'll start as always with the latest injury updates that we have. Just making sure levels are all good. I'm sure people will start to trickle in eventually, but we'll give folks a little bit of time to pop in.
All good.
So we'll start with injury. We'll start with the latest injury updates. This may help answer a question or two. And then we'll start to move through your questions specifically. I'll start dating back to yesterday, Friday, since anything from Thursday is probably old news at this point. Just pulling it up. Okay. Latest updates that we have as far as injuries as of yesterday. There was some concern about any potential what was going on as far as injuries with Breece Hall. He is good to go. It was originally confirmed trending in the right direction for week 13 after missing practice on Wednesday with a sore knee. He is good to go, though. I think he declared it himself. So any concerns are quelled for at least one more week with Breece Hall, although that is a situation to monitor in a lost season for the New York Jets. Let's see. What else do we have? There's a lot going on with the Colts wide receivers. Josh Downs and Ashton Dulin have been ruled out, although Alec Pierce, who was on the injury report, is expected to play. Michael Pittman gets a boost. He's in the wide receiver 2 category, but nothing higher than that. He hasn't put up a single wide receiver 1 season thus far, I don't believe, this year. However, he is a little bit safer with Downs out and Dulin for whatever that's worth as well. Alec Pierce, I think, is trending to play. He's a depth option. Adonai Mitchell is an intriguing depth option as well in deeper leagues. Darnell Mooney was on the injury report with an Achilles, but that doesn't sound serious. He will play week 13 against the Chargers. Will Dissly not on the injury report for the Chargers against the Falcons. Will Dissly not on the injury report. Hayden Hurst was put on injured reserve, so Dissly was already the starting tight end, firmly in there as the Chargers starting tight end. No Hayden Hurst to take opportunities or even reps away from Will Dissly. Tajay Spears clears concussion protocol. He is not on the fantasy radar. It just hasn't been. It's been the Tony Pollard show for the Tennessee Titans this year. Demario Douglas listed questionable for the Patriots for week 13 against the Colts, but I believe he's expected to play. This one's a big one to continue to monitor. Devontae Smith listed questionable for week 13. He is, I believe, expected a game time call. Not sure where that one is trending just yet. I'm going to see if there's any recent updates with that one. Let me see. On Devontae Smith. Let me pull up Sleeper.
I know his hamstring
Right.
He didn't practice Wednesday. That was the latest I had seen. Let me see.
Limited participant on Friday, will be questionable heading into Sunday. Okay, so we don't have a ton to go off of there with Devontae Smith. Assume a game time decision.
It is
Being
an
that
afternoon game.
playing in the later window, yeah, a little bit more difficult to trust him.
Just have a backup option ready.
Yep.
For that slate or later.
Like a Rashad Bateman in the same game. Yeah, I mean, not Jahan Dotson, but like a Rashad Bateman would be a viable replacement. Or if you could find somebody in Sunday night, obviously the 4:25 Eastern time window, or Sunday or Monday Night Football. So anybody in Bills, Niners, or Broncos, Browns. So maybe like a Jerry Jeudy type who's been playing really well over the past month.
Yeah, I would just, like I said, be cautious. And hopefully we get an answer Sunday morning.
Yep.
It's not a literal game time decision.
Right. Austin Eckler put on injured reserve, not only listed out for week 13, but put on injured reserve. So we'll miss the next 4 games. That is through to championship week in most fantasy situations, most fantasy leagues. If you're in a 10 or even 12-team league and you don't have an IR spot or you need the space or whatever it is, Austin Eckler at this point can probably be dropped. It may hurt, but ditto that same situation with J.K. Dobbins. He's also been put on injured reserve, so he will miss the next 4 games. Again, you're ideally not dropping J.K. Dobbins, but if you haven't clinched a playoff spot yet, you need the roster space. You don't have an IR spot where you can stash Dobbins. At this point, he can be dropped in 10 and 12 team leagues for somebody who's actually going to play, at least as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, best case scenario, he comes back for week 17, your championship.
Right.
So
which is, and in that situation, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. If you get to championship week, amazing, but we have to get there first.
Yep.
Brian Robinson, not listed on the injury report, though, Austin Eckler's running mate. Robinson, in a bit of, I guess I would say a little bit of a surprise after what Brian Robinson had to go through against Dallas. He picked up what looked like a nasty injury, but not on the injury report for week 13. So he will lead the Washington backfield. They're playing Tennessee. That's not a great matchup on paper, but it is a home game for Washington, so Robinson should be perfectly fine to continue to fire up. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, both off the injury report for Seattle. So the Seahawks will have their starting trio of wide receivers against the New York Jets. That is a difficult matchup by the numbers. If you have Metcalf, you're not taking him out of your lineup. If you have Smith and Jigba, it might be hard to take him out of your lineup as well, although it is a difficult matchup. Tyler Lockett, unless desperate, should remain out of lineups. Tank Bigsby not on the injury report for week 13. I believe Jacksonville will have their full backfield available to them. Same for Trevor Lawrence, their starting quarterback. I believe he's listed as questionable, but I believe he's expected to play. So the Jaguars will have some level of health for their starting offense. In a situation, though, at this point where they're just kind of playing out the string. But good news for Brian Thomas if you have him. Good news for Evan Ingram if you're still relying on him. ETN and Bigsby, I guess, are on the RB3 radar if you need either one of them.
Hopefully you don't.
Let's see. Tyler Higbee out for week 13. That's not fantasy relevant at this time. Brock Purdy is expected to play for the 49ers. However, the 49ers remain incredibly banged up. Trent Williams will miss this game, a second straight game for the 49ers. They also have pieces missing on defense, not necessarily relevant to your lineup, but if you have the 49ers defense, I certainly don't want to play them on the road against Buffalo without Nick Bosa. So if I have the 49ers defense, I would be looking to make alternate plans. And then as far as Purdy himself, that could be a difficult spot to trust without their starting left tackle. I believe they're missing their starting left guard as well, San Francisco. So bit of a difficult spot for the 49ers offense. I guess you're starting Purdy, maybe not in one quarterback leagues. In Superflex, yes, but maybe not one quarterback leagues. You may not have any choice when it comes to Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, George Kittle, you can comfortably fire up. Some of these other guys, though, while difficult to trust, you may have to go with. We can cross that bridge if anybody is dealing with or possibly considering starting San Francisco players this weekend. Let's see. And there it is. Alec Pierce expected to play Week 13 for the Colts, so we'll see how that shakes out. Cedric Tillman listed out for Monday Night Football. There's no surprise there. He suffered a concussion against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Doesn't seem like he was anywhere close to being available for this week. So, boost for Jerry Jeudy, boost for Elijah Moore. Jeudy is on the high-end wide receiver 3, low-end wide receiver 2 radar, catching the ball from Jameis Winston. Elijah Moore gets a boost, but he's nothing more than a deeper league flex play at best. I think that's everything I have as far as the latest injury updates. I don't know if I missed anything.
Nothing that comes to mind.
I think we caught most situations here. With J.K. Dobbins being on injured reserve. Dalton Kincaid is out. Keon Coleman, I believe, is questionable. What is Keon Coleman's status? That does not make Dawson Knox viable for me. We can do better than Dawson Knox as far as a streaming tight end option. Coleman listed as questionable with the wrist injury.
Limited all week.
Yeah, that's a difficult situation to trust on Sunday Night Football. Hopefully you can pivot off of Keon Coleman if you have him. I would not be looking to rely on him in this situation.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, so I think those are the latest injury updates. We'll, of course, keep tabs on things as the stream rolls along, and we can start taking questions now. I see MVM. What's going on, MVM? Thanks for stopping in. Again, members get a shout-out in addition to getting their questions answered in priority order. Same with comments as well. So just a reminder for everybody just popping in. Members will get first priority as far as questions answered and comments responded to. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. Supers, don't have to send them, but if you do, that will be a line jumper as well. And then we will get to everybody else. So appreciate everybody's patience in advance as we work in that order. I only ask if you guys are enjoying the stream, the dialogue, the conversation, all that good stuff, that you could just like the stream. That helps us out for algorithm purposes. Appreciate it in advance. And, one last thing. As much context as possible. If you're asking about, start 2 or start 3 and it involves wide receivers and running backs, give us the scoring. Is it full PPR? Is it half PPR? Is it a super flex league? Are there any bonuses or unique scoring settings that your league has that we should know about? As much context as you can provide helps us best answer your questions. All right, let's start with MVM. That's the first member that I see. Thanks for popping in. And, of course, hope everybody had a good holiday. Herbert or Jaden Daniels, we'll start there. At quarterback, I think at this point we still have to stick with Jaden Daniels as a must start.
Yeah.
Even in a bad matchup against Tennessee.
If you do 6-point passing touchdowns, though, I
Herbert's
wouldn't
intriguing.
have an issue starting Herbert over him.
Yeah.
Atlanta's pass defense is pretty bad. They are coming off the bye, so we'll see, but they can definitely be exploited.
Mm-hmm. I get, Daniels, 2 of his past 3 games, he's been under 20 rushing yards, but just last week against Dallas, he went for 74 and a touchdown. So, his Konami code rushing upside remains incredibly high. Cleared 50 yards rush. He's cleared 50 yards rushing 3 out of his past 6, so only half the time. That's okay. That's not spectacular, but you know what he can bring to the table. He was the overall QB1 last week. If it's 6-point passing touchdowns, MVM Herbert has an argument, but I think if not, I would just go Daniels here and roll
if you
with
look
the
at
upside.
Those lows for his rushing yards came against Pittsburgh and Philly. Tennessee is not going to have as brutal of a rush as like a defense for that those two had. So I would look for him to get 35, 40 yards as his floor on the ground. So yeah, I think JD is probably who I'm going with.
That's where I would go. And then we're starting 3 between Nico, London, Evans, JSN, and Jennings. I think those first 3 names is where I would go.
Nico obviously
Nico's must start.
obvious.
London at home, I would play. I mean, he's a wide receiver 1 this year.
Evan. They're playing Carolina. Yeah, JSN has just been so good.
He's been good.
How's Evans been since he got back?
Well, last week was his first game back. He didn't do a ton. He didn't totally kill you, but he didn't have like a Mike Evans game. I'm looking up his numbers now.
5 for 68.
5 for 68.
Targets.
I mean, in your first game back after missing 4 weeks, 3 games plus the bye, I mean, that's not bad. I would play. I mean, Mike Evans is such a stud. I know he hasn't been Mike Evans this year, but he still has 3 wide receiver 1 weeks. Obviously, missed a few weeks with a hamstring injury. No Chris Godwin rest of the season. I got to imagine a healthy Mike Evans is going to handle all the work he can from here on out, or is going to get all the work he can handle from here on out.
Is Purdy? I forget if you mentioned this in the injury rundown. Is Purdy starting this week?
He's expected to play, but they're not going to have Trent Williams. They're not going to have their starting left guard either.
Okay, then and Buffalo is more exposed on the ground anyway.
On the run than through the air. Yeah.
Whoa.
I would play those first 3 names. Yeah,
I agree with that.
I would play. I know JSN has been playing incredibly well, but I can't sit Nico. I can't sit London. I can't sit Evans. And then Lutz or Bass. Denver has Cleveland on Monday night. I think that's a home game for the Broncos. Bass has the 49ers at home on Sunday night. So two cold weather cities playing at night in the winter. You could be looking at some rough conditions for both of those guys. I'm just looking at Denver's weather. I know Buffalo will be close to freezing temperatures, but right around there, like 30 to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So not like bitterly cold. Cold enough for wintry weather, though. And we're looking at maybe 15 mile per hour winds. Denver, different story. It's actually going to be kind of nice in Denver for the time of year. It's going to be around 45 degrees. Not bad. No precipitation in the area and only 3 mile per hour winds. I guess my answer is Lutz.
Yeah, he's been good too. Like it's Denver doesn't have the running game. So when you get in the red zone, they're not all scoring as frequently either as a lot of teams. Yeah, so I like Lutz there.
I mean, 22 points last week. We can't possibly expect that to replicate. But, he's been solid at home in home games this year. So, yeah, I would probably say Lutz. I'll say Lutz. The conditions are just not as big of a concern as in Denver as it is in Buffalo.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, we'll do that. And then let me stick with MVM again, just finishing up member comments, and then we'll get to everybody else. Do you drop, is that Braylon Allen? Do you drop Braden Allen for Vidal? No, I'm not. I don't know that Vidal is like the handcuff to Gus Edwards any more than Hassan Haskins is. I get the idea of trying to pluck something from this Chargers backfield now that it's murky with Dobbins going on injured reserve, but Vidal is not a guy that I want to pick up. Especially when Braylon Allen, not only does it feel like he's closer to a larger situation or opportunity, given the right opportunity, but he's just been better. He's just shown more than Vidal has.
Wait, is he saying Braylon or is he saying Brandon Allen, the Niners quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, is it? I wasn't sure because if it's Brandon Allen and it's super flex, then sure. If it's Braylon Allen and it's the 1 quarterback league, then no.
If it's Braylon Allen, it's no regardless.
If it's Braylon Allen, it's no regardless. If it's Brandon
Allen, it's a yes.
Yeah, sure.
Because I don't know why Brandon Allen's on your roster.
No, if it's a super flex team, that would be one thing. But yeah. And as far as Vidal or Gus, it's Gus and it's not close. Even though Gus isn't spectacular, he is gonna be their starter. Vidal, I'm not chasing Vidal just because Dobbins is on IR. He just hasn't. We have nothing to go off of with Kamani Vidal. He made one play in week 6, and it was a nice play. Good for him. It happened. He scored a touchdown, his first career touchdown on a nice catch and run, but he hasn't done anything since then. I'm not prioritizing Kamani Vidal. Nah. It's Braylon
agreed.
Allen. No, you're holding on to Braylon MVM. You hang on to him and ride that out for at least the next couple of weeks. Yep. All right. Those are the only member questions I see so far. Thanks for popping in, MVM, so we can move back up to the top. Let's see. Full PPR. We're picking 2 between Ladd McConkey, Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin. This is full PPR. Ridley's got Washington. That's a good spot.
Yeah, I'm going.
Ladd against the Falcons is a solid spot, especially in full PPR. Metcalf, I don't like his matchup. He's going to have to see Sauce Gardner.
Who hasn't been good this year. I'm not as worried.
He hasn't been shut down, but he's still,
he's coming off the injury too. I just don't want to assume he's full go either. They've just been so heavily utilizing JSN.
Mm-hmm.
Ridley, I think Ridley has like a real safe floor with the amount of targets he's been getting in that offense.
Getting a lot of targets.
Yeah. Washington doesn't scare me.
Honestly, I think Sutton might be my other answer. I mean,
are you going Ladd and Sutton or Ridley and Sutton?
I would say Ladd is enticing because it's full PPR, but I do think Ridley is just like the better player.
Is it full PPR?
It's full PPR. So that makes it a little bit more intriguing for Ladd. Ridley's a wide receiver 2, but a good wide receiver 2. He's got at least 6 targets in his past 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
Sutton, on the other hand, I mean, I like him. In his past 5 games, he has at least 8 targets, and he's cleared 100 yards twice, almost cleared it a third time last week with 97, and his low water market for receiving yards in that stretch is 70. And Bo Nix is playing well.
I'm fine with it being Ladd and Sutton then, because I think the offense for the Chargers is going to be pretty Ladd and Disley focused,
and
especially with Dobbins out now too, where they're going to throw more.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm fine. Ladd and Sutton.
Sutton.
Good. Yeah, Sutton's just been so consistent too.
Sutton's been awesome recently. Sutton's been great. I would play, and Bo Nix is playing well. Cleveland's defense kind of feels like they're falling apart a little bit here. They haven't been great recently. I'll take Ladd and Sutton. That works for me. All right, let's keep it moving. Otton or Hawkinson this week? Otton has the Panthers on the road. Hawkinson has the Cardinals at home.
Otton had that little stinker last week, and I'm
curious
if
a result
Evans
of a blowout.
returned.
Yeah, Evans returned. The Bucks blew out the Giants. It wasn't a contest by halftime, so he wasn't really needed. They just ran the ball all day. So I'm not going to hold that too much against him. However, I think my answer is Hawkinson anyway.
I think that's my answer. I want to see Otton do it with Evans in this lineup.
Sure, that's fine. It's fine to want to see, let's see how Otton does now that Evans is back. And Hawkinson blew up last week, and that wasn't with any stipulations like no Justin Jefferson in the lineup or anything like that. Hawkinson just delivered. He came through. And there's nothing scary about the matchup. The Cardinals have been better against the tight end this year than they have been in recent history. But at home, I trust this Vikings offense. I trust their play calling. I'll take Hawkinson.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I'll take Hawkinson. Yeah, I'll take Hawkinson. That works for me. Full PPR, start 2. Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, Brian Robinson. These are good options. I think I would just go the first two.
Yeah, Brian Robinson. I could. What's the injury? Is he fully like a go?
He's gonna play. Let me double check what his what is the latest. He's off. I believe he's off the injury report. He is.
Okay.
It was an ankle injury.
Yeah. The only concern with Bucky is the Sean Tucker has sort of taken a lot of goal line work from both of those guys.
Yeah.
And I think Chase Brown is a yes for me. He's the running game there, and he's been explosive and really
he's a slam dunk. He's a slam. Chase Brown is a must start at this point. I think regardless of scoring, regardless of who else is on your team, he's that dude where you find a way to get him in over another guy where you wouldn't previously have thought you'd take him out of your lineup. Chase Brown is now that guy.
Let's go Bucky as the second one for the Panthers matchup they have.
I'll take Bucky here. I like that spot for him. Carolina has been gutted on the ground all season long. Bucky looks like he's rounding into form as you know, he might just be taking over that backfield. I would go Bucky. His slated games to end the season is amazing too. Brian Robinson, off the injury report, but you know, has been on the injury report multiple times. The matchup is not as good against Tennessee. It's okay, but they do have decent guys on the defensive line. Let's go with these first two names, Bucky and Chase. I'm good with that.
Agreed.
Okay. Let's see. We are here. Need some high ceiling. Okay, so you're an underdog. Got it. Need some high ceiling plays, and it's a super flex league. We need to start two between Anthony Richardson, Sam Darnold, Kyler Murray, and Russ. And we need upside here. We can't play it safe. I mean, to me, the safe plays are Darnold and Russ, and the risk it for the biscuit plays are Richardson and Kyler. Like, they are the ceiling plays, but also their floors are lower. Darnold has been quite
high
good.
Ceiling, I would go Richardson, Kyler, because Kyler, they're playing Minnesota. Minnesota's good on they can get hit through the air, so I could see them having to throw, and Kyler obviously, would be the beneficiary of that game plan.
Sure.
Russ is intriguing with the Bengals matchup.
Yeah.
Richardson obviously can go for 30. So the high ceiling is Kyler and Richardson.
I will say Darnold has been pretty good. I guess my last question here for this question is, I understand that it's super flex, but is it 6-point passing touchdowns? Because if it is, then Darnold is a little bit more intriguing here, because in 6-point passing touchdown leagues over the past 5 or 6 weeks, Darnold has been pretty money. Since week 8, he has 2 passing touchdowns in 4 out of his past 5 games. In one of those games, he has a rushing score. He had a really bad game against Jacksonville, of all teams, because of course. But in the other 4 games that he's played, he's got at least 2 passing touchdowns thrown in each one. That's pretty good. I would just want to know, if it's 6-point passing touchdowns, I might say Richardson and Darnold, but if it's 4-point passing touchdowns, then I would say Richardson and Kyler. That's where I would go. Yep. 4-point, and he convert below 4-point passing touchdowns. Okay, I will say Richardson and Kyler. You're an underdog, so you're swinging for the rushing upside that those two bring to the table, and you're risking the fact that these guys can unfortunately their erratic play can get them under 10 fantasy points for the week. However, they are the home run swings. So if you are looking for upside, Richardson and Kyler are your plays. That's where I think where I would go.
Okay.
That's where I would go. Broncos or Bills defense. Broncos get the Cleveland Browns at home on Monday Night Football. The Bills are at home against the banged-up San Francisco 49ers, but they do get Brock Purdy back. They will be down the left side of their offensive line, but they do get Purdy back. due to the 49ers. Both are at home. It's going to be cold in both stadiums. It's going to be a little extra cold in Buffalo on Sunday night. The Denver defense is probably just objectively the better up and down the board defense, I would think.
I'm going.
I think I would go the Broncos.
The Bills is like weird because it is the Niners who haven't been like good lately. Obviously, it is a snow game as well. It's looking like so. That is
would be low scoring.
Obviously. But Cleveland, I mean, Jameis is just like he's the guy that's going to throw multiple picks.
He can, right?
You know, in that sense, and Denver at home is just such a nice, attractive matchup in that regard. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
I'll go the Broncos. Yeah, but they're both in a good spot. But I would say Denver, I think, is the better defense pound for pound. And when I like the matchups equally, I'll just take what I think is the better unit, and I'll take Denver.
Yep.
Let's see. Start Devontae Smith or Tank Dell. I think you have to play Dell because if Tank Dell is your best alternative to Devontae Smith, then we just got to play Tank Dell. He plays in the 1 p.m. Eastern time zone window, so he plays before Devontae. So we may not know before the Eagles kick off, or before the Texans kick off, if Devontae's going to play. Given all this uncertainty and the fact that even if he does play, he could be limited, I'll just play Tank Dell.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just this hamstring. It's like such a injury too that you're like, even if you're back from, you might be limited. It stinks because Baltimore is a good matchup for Devonta Smith on paper. It's just the timing of it. Give me Dell. It's a safe play unless you have. I mean, it depends. Like, who's your guy that you can throw in there instead of Devonta? Like, if we get news that Devonta's suiting up before the early games, are you playing him over Dell?
If it's like if the vibes are obviously what we would hope to hear off the injury report, no expected limitations, full go for the game. If this is the language, the dialogue that we're getting from in this potential best case scenario as far as news goes, if that's the update we get from Devontae Smith going into the full slate tomorrow, off the injury report, no limitations, no restrictions, then I would play Devontae Smith. Anything else, and I would play Tank Dell, of course, to your point, unless you have somebody else in the late window or in Sunday night or Monday Night Football who you like more than Tank Dell. I can't imagine that might be a situation that you're in, though.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think they end up playing Devonta. Like, we just watched. I don't know. The Eagles don't want to risk losing him longer, for a postseason into the playoffs and everything. Yeah. And this, it'll be a important game as far as it's not a matchup they can. Obviously, they're dogs going into it against them. So, but I think they're smart enough to long term. I would be shocked if he plays. I think you give him a 5-10% chance of even playing in the game. So I'm gonna say Dell, and if like you said, if we hear otherwise that it's really optimistic about his usage and injury tomorrow morning, then fire him up because Baltimore is a nice matchup for any receiver.
It is. So we'll keep eyes and ears close to the ground for any new updates on Devontae Smith. And then Dissly or Noah Gray. This is just rest of the season question. I mean, I think the answer by default has to be Dissly. He's his team's starter.
Yeah, that's my answer too. But Gray's looks good.
Gray has looked great. Yeah, it's not an unfair question. Gray has looked really good. He had his multi-touchdown streak end yesterday at two games, but he still was involved and is still contributing. So, he's interesting, but he's just not his team starter. So by default, the answer has to be Dissly.
Yep.
All right, moving right along. Someone offered. Okay, so this is a league where a trade deadline is still has not passed yet. Someone offered you Christian McCaffrey and Jaden Reed for Jahmyr Gibbs and DeAndre Hopkins. You also have on top of that Saquon and Bucky Irving.
Assuming this is redraft.
It's got to be. I mean, it must be redraft. So your current running backs are Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bucky Irving. I think my answer is no. I mean, Jaden Reed is a nice upgrade at wide receiver over DeAndre Hopkins, but McCaffrey has only been like decent but not great in his return, and the 49ers are banged up. Gibbs, on the other hand, I know he didn't score on Thanksgiving, but he's otherwise been stellar this year.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if upgrading from Hopkins to Reed is worth it, though.
That is a big boost. That is a big boost.
I might do it. I mean, I still believe in McCaffrey. I know Trent. Well, it's where are you in the? What's your record? Because if you're, he's still coming back. Like if you guys, if you feel pretty confident that you're going to make the playoffs, and you're not too worried about these next few weeks determining it. Like I could see CMC like getting healthier as the season goes, and then being good to go for your playoff run. Because I feel like having Reed. I mean, also who are your other wide receivers? Because like if Reed becomes a starter over, I mean, if you're starting Hopkins, Reed's a big jump. But if you weren't starting Hopkins, then who are you putting Reed in for? It's a close call. I think it's nuanced for me. It's like what the rest of your roster looks like, what your record looks like. Because in a vacuum, I don't disagree with you, but I just think there's like more context needed here for me to really make a recommendation. But yeah, I mean, given all this, I kind of agree. Gibbs has just been an animal.
Gibbs has been great. I mean, obviously it's a small sample size with McCaffrey, but in his 3 games since he's returned, he's averaging about 3.5 yards per carry. I'm not holding that too much against him, although it is lackluster. He's catching the ball well, 13 catches on 16 targets, again, through 3 games. That's a healthy amount. 132 rushing yards. Oh,
he responded. He said, I'm 9-3, first place. Does that change it for you?
I mean, for me, it's like if
what's
you're
McCaffrey's schedule coming down the pike here?
Actually quite good, except for championship week. Buffalo, Chicago, the Rams, the Dolphins before a championship week 17 matchup against the Detroit Lions, but it is a home game for San Francisco. So that's a good stretch for McCaffrey.
Yeah, it's just that Lions game is tough. But I know
that Lions game is really tough, but if you trade for Christian McCaffrey and you're playing in championship week, you know what you're doing with Christian McCaffrey. You're starting him. Gibbs, I mean,
Green Bay, Buffalo, Chicago, San Fran. His looks good too.
Actually, his looks even better. Or not, maybe not even better, but just as good, just as favorable. I think for me, if I'm 9-3, maybe to a fault, this isn't the best. This may not be the best philosophy every time, all the time. But if I'm 9-3 and I'm in first place, for me, it's like if it ain't broke, I want to rock with what has worked for me all season long. If I sync with what got me as far as it got me, then, I could live with that. I think I rock with what I have. As long as your wide receivers are good and you're not regularly relying on Hopkins or solid enough, I think I would keep Saquon, Gibbs, and Bucky. Those are 3 RB, Saquon and Gibbs are they can carry you, and still having Bucky as an RB3, that's really strong. I think I would just stick with what I have.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I think I would.
He hasn't shown it yet this season, so it's sort of you're kind of hoping for the upside that he has and can bring. But do you give up a known commodity Gibbs to do that? If it was just Gibbs CMC, the answer is obviously no. It's really what's the receiver situation? Because Reed is a nice boost.
That makes it interesting. That definitely makes it interesting. But I think for me, I want to keep when I hit on a running back and that running back is cooking, I have a really hard time giving him up. Just in general.
And there's he hasn't really been, I don't necessarily expect this, but Hopkins can obviously give you some games too. Hopefully you're not if you're in first place, hopefully you don't need to be starting Hopkins.
Sure, but he had 4 for 90 on Black Friday. That's not bad,
That's true.
So not bad on 9 targets. So it could have been even a little bit better if things work out slightly differently. So I think I say stay put. Drop Dobbins for Bigsby. And thanks for the like on the way in. Appreciate the likes for the stream. That's all I ask if you guys are enjoying the conversation.
Yes.
I guess. I mean, at least Bigsby's a warm body. I mean, yeah. Drop Dobbins for Bigsby. I mean, sure, fine. If you need the roster space, we're not going to have Dobbins until championship week at the earliest, and who knows how confident we'll be in plugging him back in that scenario that he's healthy for championship week. So, yeah. Regrettably, yes. Regrettably, yes, because Bigsby's not hurt. Bigsby's not, well, at least right now, Dobbins is a guarantee not to play for 4 games. Bigsby, as of right now, is tracking to at least play those 4 games. So, sure, yeah.
Do you do it, though, if you are in, like, if you're making the playoffs? Or do you hold on to Dobbins for week 17?
If I'm comfortably in the playoffs and I have an IR space to stash Dobbins, sure. But
no IR space. If you have an IR space, you're stashing him anyway.
Right. Yeah. If there's no IR spot, yeah, I guess it depends on
Patriots week 17. So it's a really good matchup, too.
That's a great matchup. Yeah, I guess it depends on my other bench pieces. If I'm in the playoffs with a 9-3 record, or if I'm at the top of the standings and I'm comfortably in looking at even let's go as far as say looking at a bye week, then fine, I'll keep him. But anything else, it's
in a vacuum. I'm doing this for the obvious. Dobbins doesn't give you anything. Dobbins possibly does, but if you're first place, or you're going to get the bye, or you're locked into the playoffs for the most part, then I may not do this. And just because, like, what's Bigsby really do for you if you're like unless you need a running back, but if you're doing really well, then I don't think you need Bigsby probably. And he's not, that offense is so putrid in Jacksonville. I don't think he does anything for you. Like, I would just hold on to Dobbins then for like the week 17 game. And like fire, and see what happens. But at least it has some value to your team down the stretch. Where Bigsby's, what's he really gonna do? Like, you can actually start that guy?
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not. So yeah, if you're in great shape, fine. But if you are like, I haven't clinched a playoff spot yet, and I need a roster spot, then sure.
Yep, agreed.
Then sure. Let's see what's going on, Nino. I see Nino popping in. Again, for anybody else, whether you are just jumping in or have been waiting, I appreciate your patience. But again, I got to get to member questions first. That is perfect being a member of the channel. Nino needs help setting 4 different rosters. That's dedication to fantasy football right there. Let's see, and help me out, Nino, with some scoring settings here. Because your flex is McConkey versus James Conner. I think my answer is just James Conner there, even in full PPR. I mean, I want a starting running back, even if the matchup on paper isn't like the most spectacular.
McConkey's playing Atlanta. Why do you write versus New Orleans?
McConkey's playing the Saints. The Falcons. The Falcons. Yeah, that's a typo. Sorry. McConkey's it's all full PPR. Ladd in full PPR on the road against the Falcons. Connor on the road against the Minnesota Vikings. Just got a 2-year contract extension. Congratulations, James Conner. Don't know why you drafted Trey Benson, but congratulations to James Conner. I think my answer here, just by default, when it's like an upper echelon starting running back, even in full PPR, I have a hard time taking him out. I think I would go Connor.
Are you? Minnesota's run defense is still good.
I know it is. It is good. Let me look at Connor's recent splits. I mean, Last week was unspectacular. Oh boy, 7 carries for 8 yards for James Conner against Seattle. That's a division game. But 5 catches for 41 yards. It didn't do enough to like bail him out, so to speak. But at least it was like not a complete zero. I mean, prior to that, I know it's been some good matchups, but he had hit double-digit scoring from weeks 7 to 10 and in weeks 4 and 5. Like, he's been pretty money this year, James Conner. I mean, 18 half PPR points week 1, 19 week 2. He dudded week 3. Week 4 and 5, double-digit fantasy points. Week 6, he dudded. But week 7 through 10, he double-digit fantasy points. I mean, Connor's been steady. I would say he's a floor play for me if you can play it safe, Nino. But if you need to be aggressive, then maybe McConkey is fine as well.
I think, yeah, McConkey has I'm just thinking here. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
You're not going McConkey outright?
Maybe I am. I just know firsthand how bad Atlanta's defense is this year. So
they've struggled.
It's tough.
McConkey, say like last 4 games, 6 targets last week, caught all 6 of them. 9 targets week 11, caught 6 of those. Only 2 targets week 10. That wasn't great. But 7 targets week 9, caught 5 of them. 6 targets week 8, caught all of them. 7 targets week 7. So, like, he has received 6 targets or more 7 out of his last 8 games. Has at least 4 catches in 6 of those games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe.
I think I'll say Conner floor, McConkey ceiling.
Okay.
I think that's where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm leaning Conner. I'm leaning Conner just in general. He's been rock solid this year. And he just, again, these are the little intangibles where it's like you're splitting hairs and you don't know if it's real or not. But like he just got the contract extension, like literally today got a contract extension from the Cardinals. I would think they maybe have a little extra team and player have a little extra incentive to give that ball to him on the goal line tomorrow. So I'll take Conner if you're not desperate, Nino, and then need 1 running back and 2 flex. All again full PPR. So 1 has to be a running back and then 2 flex spots. Brian Robinson, Chase Brown. I'll tell you right now, Chase Brown is your running back.
Yep.
Chase Brown is your running back. He has vaulted into elite must-start territory, has Chase Brown. And then we're picking 2 flex between Brian Robinson, Bucky Irving, James Cook, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel.
It's Cook and Bucky for me.
That I agree. I would pick those 2 as well. Brian Robinson on the injury report. Let's tread lightly there, cautiously there. Terry had an amazing catch for a touchdown last week that went for like 85 yards, but otherwise was kind of quiet in that game. I know Terry's capable of making a big play, but will L'Jarius Sneed play tomorrow for the Tennessee Titans? That could be key. Not that in one way or another it changes my answer. I'm just giving you my thoughts on every player listed here. Oh, no, he's on injured reserve. L'Jarius Sneed. Okay, so that opens things up for Terry, but not enough to the point where I want to start him over Bucky Irving or James Cook. And Deebo, is the king of disappointment this year. He has been pretty bad outside of like 3 or 4 weeks this year. So I don't want to play Deebo when I have these other running backs available to me.
Yeah. No, you can't be putting him in over these guys.
I don't trust Deebo. Yep. Give me Chase Brown as your slam dunk running back, and then give me Bucky and James Cook as your 2 flex. We are in agreement there. And Nino, a member for 1 month. Appreciate the support. Thank you so much. All right. I have my spot in line. I didn't lose it. What? Something about Gibbs post. See, I'm not worried about I'm not worried about this. Like, even if it's real, like Jahmyr Gibbs, they're not going to. The Lions are 11-1. If he's doing some silly stuff online, Like they'll reprimand him, but like he's not. They're not going to bench him. He's an integral part of what they do on offense. So I'm not allowing this to get in the way of any trade discussions or anything like that. Let's see. So no, I wouldn't worry about that. Wilson, Cousins, or Richardson. I assume that this is just one quarterback, and we just need to pick one.
Yeah.
Cousins
Russell.
against the Chargers at home. Russ against the Bengals on the road. Richardson against the Patriots on the road. Yeah, that's right. Richardson on the road against New England. I mean, Richardson is the upside play. He's the all or nothing play. So if you're hoping for 24, 25 points, it can be Richardson, even though he could get you 6 or 7. So if you're willing to play, if you need the upside, the answer is Richardson. I guess the floor play here is it Russ because of the matchup against the Bengals?
I think so. I mean, he had the juicy matchup versus the Ravens last week, though, and completely
Didn't
gutted.
do it. Yeah.
And they won the game.
And they right. Yeah, that's just the Steelers being a good team. Kirk Cousins has been, outside of the games that Cousins has played, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year has been kind of pedestrian.
He had one other one.
The Eagles week 2. Yeah.
Let's not forget.
Let's not forget. I think my answer here is Richardson as your upside play and Wilson as your floor play. So if you want to play it safe, Russ is a play it safe. Richardson is probably the guy that I lean in general. But if you want to avoid, if you're looking to avoid like a bad floor potential play, then I would say Russ over Richardson. And if it's a super flex league, then I would play Russ and Richardson.
But you're saying Richardson over Russ?
Richardson over Russ, Russ over Cousins in super flex, Richardson aggressive play, Russ safe play.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. Vele or Adonai Mitchell? I would go with the Denver rookie, not the
Vele.
not the Colts rookie. He's been solid.
Yeah,
he's
Vele
been good.
for me.
He's been good. I mean, Mitchell has an expanded opportunity here tomorrow, and it's a great matchup. But Vele's actually been doing stuff. He's actually been producing.
Yeah, what's Mitchell even? He had that one decent week against Buffalo.
I think it was a few weeks ago, too.
I don't know what any. I'm surprised Adonai Mitchell's name has been said at all on this entire stream.
He's well, expanded opportunity, right? Josh Downs is out, Ashton Doolin is out, so like more opportunities. But yeah, Mitchell has one wide receiver 2 week on the season. Yeah, you were a couple weeks ago, week 10 against Buffalo. He just hasn't done enough. He hasn't done enough. The answer is Vele here. He's been solid.
Yeah, I mean he's still behind Pierce. Like he's still the third guy behind Pierce and Pittman. And I don't think he plays the slot, right? Isn't that Gould?
I think he plays at the outside, yeah.
So, like, I just don't see the opportunity. I Vele for sure. Vele, he's been getting some, like, decent target numbers, too.
Agreed.
He's, right behind. Not right behind, but he's behind Sutton, obviously. I think he's the number 2 there, so, yeah.
And I trust Nick's throwing the ball a little bit more right now than I trust Anthony Richardson, so give me Vele.
Yeah, he had 9 targets last week.
Yep, go with the Denver rookie. And then Pickens or Garrett Wilson in standard scoring. Pickens has the Bengals on the road, and Garrett Wilson has the Seahawks at home.
I think it's Pickens.
I think it's Pickens as well. He's been so good with Russ.
Yeah, it's
five games
for me.
5 games with Russ under center. Pickens has 26 catches, 413 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So that's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. And the Bengals defense, outside of if you're on the Cincinnati defense and your name is not Trey Hendrickson, you stink.
Pretty much, yeah.
You stink. So
Yeah,
I'll take Pickens.
Go Pickens.
I'll take Pickens. Let's see. What's going on, Greg? Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Let's see what we got here. You got outbid for Knicks. So you have Stafford. And Okay, so you're going to play Stafford. No, you're fine. He's playing the New Orleans Saints. That's an incredibly beatable matchup, and he's got good receivers to throw the ball to. What did
Do you go
Love?
Stafford over Russ?
Do I go Stafford over Russ?
It looks like that's what he's deciding.
I think I would. Stafford's been pretty solid recently, and the Saints are a train wreck on defense.
There's no way I'm putting Trevor in.
No shot. Stafford has been a QB1 3 out of his last 5 games. He just missed being a QB1 in a fourth one of those games, and then he was the QB20 against Miami, who has a pretty good secondary.
I'm going Stafford.
I'll say Stafford. He's been solid recently, and the Saints are not scary by any stretch of the imagination. I'll say Stafford, Greg. Rock with him. And then you still have Love rest of the season. So you missed on Knicks, but you're okay. You're fine. With Love and Stafford rest of the way, you're fine. You're fine. And then we've got 1 flex and 2 wide receivers. So Marvin Harrison, Deebo Samuel, Aaron Jones. Jones is your flex. We got to put Aaron Jones in your flex. And then you also have Vele. Is that David Moore? It must be because DJ Moore already played. And Xavier Leggett. Jones is your flex for sure. Marvin Harrison and Deebo Samuel have not been good this year. I have a hard time trusting those two. We can't play David Moore over one of them, but we could play Vele.
You playing Vele over Deebo?
Deebo's been so bad.
Marvin's just been
very pedestrian.
And the matchup's not good.
No. Do you go Liggett against Tampa Bay? That's a great matchup by the numbers.
Let me look at that real quick. What's his targets and stuff been?
Vele?
Yeah. No, for Liggett.
Oh, Liggett. I will look that up right now. Let's see. 6 targets week 12, 4 targets week 10. It was a week 11 bye. 6 targets week 9, 7 targets week 8. I believe week 7, that's when Deontay got traded. So since then, 7 targets, 6 targets, 4 targets, bye week, 6 targets. So since Deontay was traded and Jonathan Mingo, for whatever that's worth, Liggett has received 6 targets or more in 3 of his past 4 games. However, he has only cleared 50 yards receiving once. However, 2 of those games he caught touchdowns.
I may just roll out Marvin Deebo, like he's saying.
Just hope for the best.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see it being like no one else on that list is
like an intriguing, has emerged to the point where you're considering them.
Yeah. I feel like you're getting too cute.
That's fair. Just play the dudes
is
that you're
Purdy playing?
Purdy's playing.
Then Deebo.
Purdy's playing.
Deebo and MVH.
All right.
And Marvin Harrison.
Okay.
MVH just keeps throwing me off.
I know. He hasn't earned the right of an acronym name yet.
But it's not even what the acronym would be.
It's MH
it's a middle
Junior.
V.
Oh yeah,
MHJ. Yeah.
He's Vin. He is Vin Harrison. Marvin. I'm okay with that. I'm not super confident in the call, but agreed that Vele and Liggett they're just not there yet as far as they haven't supplanted these dudes, not quite yet. Harrison and Deebo, I would go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then his last question, Greg's is we'll cross this bridge when we get to it, Greg, but is Keenan Allen a set and forget start over either one of those guys moving forward? Maybe, Let's see how this week set of games, shake out. I know that he caught the 2 touchdowns, and that was good. But and I guess maybe the Bears have a little bit of end of season life potential now that they fired Eberflus, and they seem to like the offense. Seems to respond to Thomas Brown so far and his play calling. Maybe. Maybe. I'm not sure that yet. It doesn't matter for this week, obviously, because he already played, but it's a conversation that we may have moving forward because we know what Allen can do, even though he's been kind of quiet this year. We'll see what happens.
Earlier, by the way, Marv is a good matchup for it on the earlier guy because
the Vikings secondary is beatable. Their run defense is strong.
Yeah.
So yeah, Harrison and Debo, and we'll cross the Keenan Allen bridge when we get to it. But let me know if you need anything else, Greg. We can help out for sure. Ooh, that feedback noise just died a little bit. Whatever you did over there, I like it. Let's see. Brian Thomas or Calvin Ridley?
Ooh.
Brian Thomas gets Trevor Lawrence back, who is quote-unquote adamant about the fact that he will be playing tomorrow.
Right.
Ridley gets Washington, which is certainly a beatable matchup.
I'm going Ridley, I think. He's just been getting targeted a ton. And I think he has a floor because of it.
Who's Jacksonville have tomorrow?
He's had the last 2 games only 6. Before that, 9-8, 15, 9-8.
Thomas coming off of his bye week gets Houston at home. He beat Houston earlier this year in week 4 to the tune of 6 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown. Only so much stock that we can put in that, but something worth noting. I think my answer is
the offense is just so bad in Jacksonville. I mean, it's not great in Tennessee either.
It's not great in Tennessee. I guess I trust Trevor Lawrence a little more than I trust Will Levis. I don't know how much. I don't know how much that means. I think my answer is Thomas. I mean, he has been. Prior to Trevor Lawrence's injury, he's been so good, and they have nothing left at wide receiver. Christian Kirk is out for the season. Gabe Davis is out for the season. He wasn't contributing, but it's just there's more targets available. It's pretty much Thomas and Evan Ingram at this point. I think I go Thomas.
I don't have a problem with it. I lean Ridley.
Okay. So we're split on this one. We're split on Brian Thomas versus Calvin Ridley.
I think so.
I would say I think I lean Thomas with as long as Trevor Lawrence is back playing. If Lawrence is for whatever reason ruled out, then the answer is easy to Ridley. But I think if Lawrence plays and we're getting the vibes that there's no restrictions, I would say Thomas. Will is on the Ridley train. Ridley's been corralling a lot of targets recently, and you figure on the road against Washington that should continue. I guess I trust Trevor Lawrence a little bit more than Will Levis, and for me, that's what tips it for Thomas for me. So it's kind of a gut call, I guess, depending on if you have a personal preference, if you like one of them better than the other. But we are split on that one. I lean Thomas, Will leans Ridley. If anybody else has any thoughts on that, feel free to chime in. I got one vote for Brian Thomas down below, so
I saw that.
We're off and running. Let's see. Got a handful of questions. One running back, one wide receiver, one flex in full PPR. Brian Robinson, Bucky Irving, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Marvin Harrison Jr.
B-Rob officially Brian Robinson, not Bijan Robinson?
Bijan is Bijan. B-Rob is, I think, right? Bijan is just Bijan.
Yeah.
And not a part, should not be a part of any start sit questions to begin with. If you have Bijan, you are playing him. I don't care if he's going up against the Monstars on the moon. You're playing Bijan, and hoping for the best. I think it's Brian Robinson. I say Bucky is your running back.
Bucky's the running back. I think
Garrett Wilson is my wide
Wilson's the receiver. And
I would go Brian Robinson over Adams and Marvin Harrison. Because for the floor play anyway.
I'm debating Marvin or B-Rob. Oh,
I think I would go Robinson.
I'm just nervous about Robinson's with
being on the injury report. Yeah.
I don't know. That's tough.
It's not unfair.
It's full PPR. Does that
change full PPR
at all?
I
might go Marv. I think I'm going Marv, Bucky, Garrett. That's my answer.
You like Marv. Okay. I think I say the running back. I know that he's a risk, but he's off the injury report. And so for me, that's the all we can go off of is injury designations. And if he doesn't have an injury designation, I can only operate knowing that he's full go, like good to go. And with no Austin Eckler, he could, the targets, there could be extra target or two there for Robinson. I'll say B-Rob, Bucky, Garrett. That's where I'm going.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going Bucky, Garrett, Marv.
Robinson Jr. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not doing
that. Sorry. We confirmed it's Brian, not B. John.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like Brian Robinson as your flex. We both are in agreement about Bucky and Garrett Wilson as your running back and wide receiver. Will likes Marvin Harrison as your flex. It is a good matchup by the numbers against the Minnesota Vikings. Their secondary is beatable. He's maybe more the moonshot play, and for me, Brian Robinson would be the safe play. So if you need to be aggressive in your matchup, I'm okay with Harrison, but I would, if you can play it safe, then I would play Robinson. Brian, that is. Let's see. And Flowers and then another question. Flowers or Marvin Harrison Jr.? I assume this is maybe in a different league. Also, full PPR.
Eagles secondary is good, man.
They're pretty tough, but they are at home. The Ravens are, and sometimes that can be a neutralizer.
I wish if Marvin just been more reliable at all this year, it would
right. This wouldn't be a question, but he's been so up and down, and I feel like it's been more down than up. Flowers in his past 5 games, 8 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets, 12 targets. That was all the way back in week 8. 2 of those games he was under 40 yards receiving, but he caught a touchdown in one of them. Last week against the Chargers in a tough matchup, 5 catches for 62 yards on 8 targets.
I'm going Flowers.
I think I'm going Flowers as well. He's been a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is.
He's been a little bit more consistent. And better quarterback play. Lamar is objectively in all ways better than Kyler. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I'll take Flowers. Let's see. Would you guys pick up Dissly or Brandon Cooks?
Depends what you need.
Depends on what you need. I mean, who's your starting? If you have a tight end, I mean, if you've got, I'll just rattle off the names. If you have Travis Kelce, if you have George Kittle, if you have Brock Bowers, if you have Trey McBride, if you have, at this point, TJ Hawkinson, Taysom Hill, Jonnu Smith, I'll throw David Njoku and Evan Ingram and Sam Laporta in that list as well. I mean, even like a Mark Andrews or a Kyle Pitts, then I don't really want to pick up Dissly. Brandon Cooks, I don't know.
You don't want to pick him up. What if you just
have one of those guys? If I have a tight end where I'm like, this is my tight end, then I don't want to pick up a tight end too, because I'm hopefully never playing the tight end too.
Who's on that list for you? Like, who is that? What I mean, obviously Kittle,
Travis, Kelce, Bowers, Kittle, McBride, Taysom Hill, Jonnu Smith, TJ Hawkinson.
Are you picking up Dissly if you've been like rolling out like Goddard?
Sure.
Or what about Cade Otton?
I want to see one more week of Cade Otton before I panic on him. If he has another 1-catch, 2-catch game tomorrow, then I will panic on Cade Otton. But I'm willing to ride it out one more week. Last week was a blowout early, between Evans returning and the Bucs killing the Giants very early in that game, I don't hold too much against any pass catcher for the Bucs that didn't do anything because they didn't have to. I want to see how he does tomorrow before I panic. But if he performs poorly tomorrow, then sure, Disley is a viable guy to look at. So
Cooks had some good matchups coming up too. Cincinnati, Carolina, Tampa, Philly week 17, but those other three are ones that you certainly don't mind seeing.
Sure.
Why are you able to pick them up though if they already played? So I'm a little confused by the question.
The Chargers? Oh, Cooks. Oh, well, maybe this is just for waivers for next week, for week 14.
Got it.
In that case, I hope not with Brandon Cooks. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb could be. I don't know. We could be headed towards shutdown season for CeeDee Lamb. I don't know that it's getting too far ahead of myself, but
pick up Disley now, and then if he doesn't do it, pick up Cooks at the waiver.
Right. Sure.
I don't know, unless you're in a weird league where it's like only free agency and there's no waivers.
The waivers are unique settings, then sure. But if Disley's available to pick up now and you have the space, then sure, pick him up. It also depends on who you would be dropping. And then we can revisit Cooks next week when waivers clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Disley can be picked up now, so that works. Bucs defense against the Panthers on the road or the Commanders defense at home against the Titans? Probably the Commanders, even though I'm starting to lose faith. They looked like they were putting it together in the middle of the season, and they've been more pedestrian recently. The Bucs have just been difficult to trust.
I kind of like the Commanders of these two because
I
know it's Bryce Young, but he's been playing better.
Bryce Young's been playing. Yeah, that's the other thing. The Panthers' offense has not been like this historically awful offense that they
Will
were.
Levis could just throw a fumble to the defense
right.
so
he
easily.
He could easily botch up a play or two that works out favorably for the opposing defense.
Taysom Hill or McBride.
McBride against the Vikings, Hill against the Rams. Oof.
McBride is like this. It seems like the obvious answer, but if you're like a heavy loser projected for this week, like Taysom Hill, we know can put up a 30-pointer. So
I think because it's full PPR, I go McBride. If it was standard or half PPR, I'd be more in on Taysom Hill. I think with McBride being the pure pass catcher, I'll take McBride. I believe he's a top 5 tight end on the season in PPR scoring, despite the 0 receiving touchdowns. That's how much volume McBride is getting.
No, I think that's correct.
Yeah. I think McBride for me, since it's full PPR, but this would be a rare, depending on your flex options, this would be a rare situation where I wouldn't be opposed to playing both tight ends, even though that's not my favorite strategy.
Yeah. You missed the last part.
Jonathan thoughts on Brooks rest of the season. Yeah.
I don't think he eclipses 30% of that backfield. They like Hubbard, at least for this year. They trust Hubbard. They like he's a good running back.
They just locked him up. They're starting to play better, and Chuba's been a part of that more than Brooks has been a part of that. Yep. Yeah, the optimism on Brooks is wavering. Pun intended, I guess, on that. I don't know. I was optimistic on Brooks earlier in the year. I liked him quite a bit as a stash late in the draft and as a stash and hold. That doesn't appear to be materializing this year. I would give it one more week, if you aren't desperate for the roster spot. But if he doesn't do anything this week, we can start looking at alternate options for your bench for the fantasy playoffs, unless you have Chuba.
Do you think that they're seeing something at practice that they don't like with him? Like,
Maybe. I mean, it's how much can you hold against a player who's spent more time rehabbing than being involved in football activities for the past year?
right.
So, but to that point, they're probably bringing him along slowly. They don't want to rush him in a season that is clearly at this point for development and evaluation and nothing else for the Panthers. I mean,
I'm shocked that they haven't used him then to get that evaluation time in.
yeah. I mean, he only did just come back. So, but yeah, maybe in practice he's still kind of slow. He's still shaking the rust off, and meanwhile everybody else is in late mid-season form, and they're just at a high. They're playing, operating at a higher level right now than Brooks can, which is not totally unexpected given his recent timeline. So yeah, I mean, I would say he's a play for next year, as far as like an intriguing depth option, but it doesn't look like it's going to materialize as long as Chuba's lining up for them going into each week.
Right.
So for the future, sure. For this season, time is rapidly running out. And then the Cardinals, the Vikings, or the Colts defense this week. I guess the Vikings, because they're the best defense of this group, even though the matchup isn't great. Kyler can be. You can capitalize on Kyler as a defense. It's not a guarantee, but it's certainly possible. I don't want to play the Cardinals defense on the road against a good offense and a good offensive play caller, and the Colts defense. It's a good matchup playing the Patriots, but they stink. They just aren't good. They're just not a good defense. And Drake May's playing well.
Yeah, I still think I go Indy.
Really?
I think so. Well, maybe Minnesota. You're saying Minnesota?
I say the Vikings just because they're the best unit of this group. They're the best team. Like, Indy's got a great matchup, but they're not a good defense.
I just don't see. I don't see a world where May lights it up though against them, and to me, Kyler. I could see a scenario where the Cardinals put up 30 on Minnesota, and your defense gets you 3 points on the week. I guess I see more downside with Minnesota in that way. I agree that they're the best unit of these three, but is Kyler mistake prone?
I mean, he's not. They're not putting up a ton of points this year, the Cardinals offense.
Yeah.
I don't think he has more than one game with multiple passing scores this year, Kyler. He's been pretty lackluster as a passer.
Then let's go. Yeah, I'm fine with Minnesota then.
Kyler has 2 games this year with 2 or more passing touchdowns. One came in week 2 against the Rams. The Rams are getting killed by everybody. The other game came, actually, surprisingly, against the Dolphins on the road, who have been really good this year against quarterbacks, so go figure. But other than that, Kyler has not been great throwing the ball this year.
No, he hasn't.
I would and it's a home game for the Vikings.
Only 4 interceptions, though.
Yeah. I don't know how many sacks he's taken.
I'm not sure.
At least one of those interceptions was a pick 6, though. Because Seattle, I think Seattle did it just last week. I think they housed an interception against him.
Oh, yeah.
So at least one of those picks was a pick 6. I don't recall if there were more. Yeah, I mean, I would play the Vikings. Yes, it's a floor play at defense. You might not get anything more than 2 or 3 sacks and a turnover, but
they are the number 1 defense in the.
Yeah, that's the situation I trust more than the Colts or the Cardinals. Both of those teams are on the road. The Vikings are at home. I want to play the defense that's defending home turf, and as a team, I feel most confident about them if I had to pick which one of these three teams is most likely to get a win, I'd pick the Vikings. And then a team with a lead, in theory, the defense can play a little bit more aggressive. And then that's when you can start, forcing the Cardinals offense into potentially more mistake ridden football. So
of their 11 games this year, the Vikings, in like pretty standard defensive scoring, have only not gotten 10 or more 3 times.
So
Chicago, the Rams, and Green Bay.
There you go.
Otherwise, they've gotten double-digit points every week. So
I'll take the Vikings.
Go Vikings.
Vikings.
I forgot that their fantasy defense has been actually very good.
Their secondary is not great, but they score well for fantasy, and their front seven is good.
Yep.
Yeah. I would probably just rock with the Vikings. I believe the Vikings have a pretty good schedule for the next month or so. So I would just play them until I think they play Green Bay week 17. So
Arizona, Atlanta, Chicago, Seattle, and Green Bay 17. Yeah.
Yep. All right. We're going with the Vikings. Running backs and flex was this
Allen Hall, Mike Evans at flex? Wide receivers are Puka and London. Should I play Brian Robinson over anyone running back because
Chase Brown? So Chase Brown or Hall? No. You got to keep those guys in.
Or play him over the flex Mike Evans.
I don't know the scoring. In full PPR, no. Honestly, even in half PPR, maybe I'm just a Mike Evans guy. I want to play Mike Evans.
I think I'll go Mike Evans.
In standard scoring,
I'm nervous.
Sure.
I'm nervous about Robinson this week.
That's fine. I'm not declaring him a slam dunk just because Eckler is not going to play. In half or full PPR, I'm playing Evans. In standard, you have a case, but I'm not bullish about it.
You're not playing over Puka in London, are you?
No, not even in standard scoring. Puka and London have to be in. And I think I'm just playing Evans in the flex. I just like Mike Evans. I think he does historically well against Carolina. Yeah, I would just stick with Evans. And Brown and Hall are slam dunks. There's no way they're coming out of your lineup.
For sure.
Yep. Mooney or Marvin Harrison rest of season. Are we going Mooney here? Mooney's been.
Right? I
think Mooney's been more consistent.
Yeah.
Mooney's a wide receiver 2 on the season. I think Marvin Harrison's a wide receiver 3 on the season.
I'll tell you right now. Marvin Harrison has gotten in half PPR scoring. Well, first off, he's wide receiver. Let me tell you, he's wide receiver 29.
So he's a wide receiver 3.
He has scored double-digit fantasy points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and he's gotten 5 or less 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. Yikes. And then the one that's neither is he got 6. So he's gotten 6 or less 6 out of 11 games.
That is not good.
And only of those 2 of those were 20 point. Like he was
Mooney.
Yeah.
Mooney. That's it. It's Mooney. Marvin Harrison has been way too inconsistent for me to give him any type of vote of confidence for the rest of the season. Yeah.
Yeah, Mooney's been a stud.
Yep. I would say Mooney.
And he's got a good schedule down the rest of the season.
Down the stretch. There you go.
Yeah, the stretch. Couldn't think of the word.
There's a lot of words that I have to remember, and I find myself after the stream, 2 hours from now, I'll be like, stretch. That's the word I was trying to think of. Yeah, got it. Separate league, full PPR. Things are not going well. Okay. But do you start Javonte Williams or Gus Edwards? Okay, so yeah, we're hurting a little bit. Williams against the Browns. Edwards with the backfield at least. Well, he'll have 1A duties, I guess. The Chargers are on the road against the Falcons.
Edwards for sure. Javante's been a dud.
He's
He had
been
that one good week, and it tricked everybody.
He's had. Let me confirm what Javonte has done. Javonte has 3 games in half PPR scoring with double-digit fantasy points. And every other game he's been under 10 fantasy points. Last week, bad. Week 11 against Atlanta was good. That's that same matchup that Gus has this week. Yeah, my answer is Gus. Williams has been mostly disappointing, sprinkling in a little bit of okay here and there.
And you said Williams had a good game week 11 against who?
Atlanta.
And who's Gus playing this week?
Gus Edwards' opponent this week is Atlanta. So I would say Gus.
And Javonte, the week surrounding the Atlanta game, got less than 2 points.
2 fantasy. Yep. Really bad. Yeah. So
what about the kicker question?
Bass or
McLaughlin.
My answer here is McLaughlin for the simple fact that McLaughlin will not be kicking in snow.
Yep, same.
That's my answer.
Normally, I would have said Bass with the Bills at home.
Yeah,
I think, but
Bass at home normally feels good, but when we're looking at a wintry mix, and we're probably looking at 12 to 15 mile per hour winds, if we're to believe the trustyweather.com website, then that's an even another layer where it's like I don't want to mess around with that.
Yeah.
I'll take McLaughlin kicking in Carolina. I think it's going to be a little chilly in Carolina by North Carolina standards. I think it's going to be around 35, 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Ooh. So a little chilly, but I'll take that over, 30 degrees at night with 15 mile per hour winds and a wintry mix. So give me McLaughlin. Give me Edwards against Atlanta. Give me McLaughlin against the Carolina Panthers.
Agree.
All right, let's see. Gonna keep it moving. Got Nino's questions. Thank you, Nino. Got Greg's questions. Thanks, Greg. Shout out to my members. Appreciate the support as always. Drop Xavier Worthy for Vele. I probably would, right? What did Worthy do yesterday? I feel like he was once again kind of quiet.
He didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, he's very much he had 5 for 54, so he contributed. Actually, he's been okay. The past 3 games, Worthy's been decent. Vele's been better though recently.
And then what's Vele's? Isn't the rest of his schedule pretty good too?
This week he has Cleveland, then a bye week, week 14. So that's not fun. But weeks 15 and 17 are good.
Chargers, Cincy.
Week 16 is a little tough, but week 15 and 17 is good.
And then you have for Worthy Chargers, then Cleveland, Houston, Pittsburgh, week 17.
That's worse. That's objectively worse.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, I would do it as well. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with picking up Vele and dropping Worthy. I'm fine with that. PPR. This is another trade question. Jamar Chase on side A gets Jamar Chase. Side B gets Terry McLaurin and Chuba Hubbard.
A.
I'd rather have Jamar Chase, especially in full PPR. I mean,
it's not unfair.
No, if you're hurting at running back, it's worth a conversation. But if you're not hurting at running back, then I'm just going to keep Jamar Chase.
Agreed.
So I guess, yeah, if you would like to add some context here, let us know who your current running backs are, and we can revisit this question. But
on which side of the trade that you are on?
Yeah, but objectively, in a vacuum, like all things equal, I want Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Kicker question for the rest of the season / playoffs. So this is going to be, if you are unsettled at kicker, we can figure this out week to week. This isn't something where if you have like Koo is not a bad guy to have for the stretch run. I mean, he's going to be kicking in a dome when he's playing at home. who does Koo have rest of the way? He's obviously at home against the Chargers tomorrow. He's past his bye week. Vikings week 14, dome. Vegas week 15, dome. Week 16 home against the Giants, dome. Week 17 on the road against the Commanders. I can understand feeling weird about that one, but that's championship week. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm fine with picking Koo back up. If you're unsettled at kicker after this week, I'm fine with picking Koo back up. He's going to kick in a dome every game from now until week 17.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with picking Koo up. I mean, the one game where it might be volatile is on the road against the Vikings, because if the Falcons are playing from behind in that game, which they may well be, the Vikings are good, and defending home turf, then they may opt for more, fourth down conversions than settling for points. But like week 15 against the Raiders, week 16 against the Giants, that's a really good spot for Koo, and those are your playoff games. So I would say Koo. If you can get him back, that's the guy that I would want back until week 17. And we'll worry about week 17 when it's time to worry about week 17.
Yeah.
I think I'm good with Koo. If you can get Koo back, I would try to get Koo back. If not, we'll take it week to week. Let's see. We're going to keep it moving. I don't see any other member questions at the moment. So I have to jump down to members if I see any more, but don't see them at the moment. I got some votes of confidence for Brian Thomas in our conversation of Brian Thomas versus Calvin Ridley. So if that helps at all with that question. Let's see. Start 2. Marvin Harrison, Calvin Ridley. Speaking of, Davante Adams, Tank Dell need big upside in full PPR. Ridley is an upside play. I mean, targets and can make a big play. Ridley can get you low points, not because he's not good, but because the offense isn't good. But he's the ceiling play of this group. Is Marvin Harrison the other upside play here, even though we've been kind of poo-pooing him on this stream?
I think he is.
I think he is too.
How's Dell been? I feel like Dell has been better recently, though.
He has been better recently, but it hasn't been like he's been incredible. It's like he's been pretty good.
How did he do?
And he gets the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's pretty good. Last week he had 3 catches on 5 targets for 72 yards.
Since Nico's been back, his targets dipped back down into the 5 to 7 range.
7, yeah.
This is tough.
I think
it's Marv.
Yeah, Dell the past 4 games, he was the wide receiver 14, the wide receiver 46, the wide receiver 43, the wide receiver 32. That's a safe play. That screams like floor play, not ceiling play to me, even though his matchup against Jacksonville is very good. Yeah, I'll say the first 2 names. I'll say Harrison and Ridley. If you need big upside, that means that you're okay rolling the punches with guys that can potentially get you low totals. Unfortunately, that is Ridley and Harrison, but they are the home run swings. So if you need the upside, those first 2 names are the upside, Harrison and Ridley. And then this looks like a slightly separate question, although many of the same names involved. Ridley, Brian Thomas, Marvin Harrison, Davante Adams, Tank Dell. Is this the same question, but we forgot to add Brian Thomas?
I think so.
Okay. So
unless it's a different league, the same guy. It's Ridley and Thomas.
I would say Ridley and Thomas. If this is the same question, but we just are including Thomas, Ridley and Thomas. Yep. I feel better about Thomas with Lawrence playing. As long as Lawrence is in, which as of right now, we're expecting Trevor Lawrence to play.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'll say Ridley and I'll say Brian Thomas if you need the upside.
Agreed.
Disley or Engram? Disley is on the road against the Falcons. Engram gets Lawrence back at home against Houston.
That's a tough one. Engram was good when
Engram has been solid with
Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence and since Christian Kirk was lost for the season.
Ooh, excuse me.
I think I say Engram.
It's tough though. Disley's also been
solid.
Pretty good.
Disley's been solid, and obviously he's getting much better quarterback play from Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Last few games, Disley last week against Baltimore, 4 for 47. Week 11 against Cincinnati, 4 for 80 and a touchdown on 6 targets. 5 catches for 30 yards week 10 on 6 targets. Only 3 targets week 9, but 7 targets week 8, 11 targets week 7. Engram, on the other hand, I think has put out similar numbers, at least with Trevor Lawrence.
It's just the matchup with Atlanta is really good, too.
10 targets, 5 targets, 5 targets, 10 targets for Engram the past 4
right.
games.
Engram really hasn't been actually doing as – he had that really good 10 for 102 game.
He had 10 for 102, week 6. That was against the Bears in London, for whatever that's worth. He had a good day. Well, he caught a touchdown against the Packers week 8. He had a 10-target game against Philly, but it didn't really translate.
I'm leaning Disley, I think. I like the Atlanta matchup.
I'm okay with that.
And it's going to be him and McConkey. It's the same thing with McConkey.
Disley and McConkey, yeah.
It's him and McConkey, and with Dobbins out, Edwards hasn't looked great, but like you start him. We're not talking about starting him. I'm just saying like they could be throwing more. This game has shootout potential.
Yeah. And he's going to get much better quarterback play. Disley will from Herbert in all likelihood, right? Mm-hmm. We trust Herbert more than we trust Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Okay. I'm fine with Disley. Yeah, I'm fine with Disley. Let's see. Who to start in the flex? Jerry Jeudy, since Tillman is out, Nick Chubb, MVS, or Travis Etienne?
Starting Chubb.
You're going Chubb?
No, I'm not starting Chubb.
Not starting Chubb.
Chubb has not been good.
He hasn't.
He had 2 touchdowns against Atlanta. Is that Atlanta?
Pittsburgh, right?
It was Pittsburgh.
But he had like 20 carries for 60 yards.
Yeah, it was last week.
Yeah.
He hasn't been good.
I think my answer is Jeudy. No Cedric Tillman. It's a tough matchup, but Jameis is going to chuck it. Jameis has no fear.
Yeah. I like Jeudy.
Judy's been solid recently. It is a revenge game against the Broncos. That's my favorite narrative. Will, not so much. But, the past 5 games for Jerry Jeudy, 6 targets, 11 targets, 11 targets, 8 targets, 6 targets. I mean, that's since Amari Cooper was traded. He has cleared 70 yards receiving his last 4 games. Yeah, I say Jeudy. I mean, he's playing well. He's motivated tomorrow against the Broncos. Things went terribly for him there. Yeah, I would say Jeudy.
Yep.
I would say, and in full PPR, so a little slight boost to the wide receivers. Yeah, I'll say Jeudy.
It's definitely not Etienne or MVS. And
Can't
Nick
trust
Chubb
Etienne.
Hasn't been great, and
the
Denver
it's a bad matchup.
Not good.
Bad matchup. Yeah, against the Broncos, they got a good run defense, and Chubb has been average at best since his return. We're happy to see him back, but he hasn't been Nick Chubb, like stud Nick Chubb. He just hasn't.
For sure.
Full PPR, pick 2. Well, Justin Jefferson is in your lineup. That's a set and forget every week, no matter what, even if there's a fire. But
Mark's out for me.
Ridley versus Terry McLaurin. I mean,
That's the conversation, yeah.
Yeah, it's Ridley versus Terry. Ridley, and they're playing each other. Ridley gets Washington, Terry gets Tennessee. It is a home game for Washington for whatever that is worth.
Do you sit Jefferson and start those 2 so that you have fun watching the game?
Not even if there's a fire. No. Both are solid.
I think I'm going Calvin, but I'm a Calvin Ridley guy.
You've been a Calvin guy. That being said, I think I go Ridley here as well. He's got a 30% target share since DeAndre Hopkins was traded. That is second in the NFL behind your boy Malik Neighbors. Like you can bank on for better or worse, whether the results are there at the end of the day or not. Basically, what that tells me is we can confidently rely on Ridley getting the ball thrown to him. What happens after that is obviously up to chance, but I'll play Ridley.
Agreed.
I'll play Ridley. And Washington has not looked as like bulletproof recently as they did to start the season or through the first, say, 6 games of the year. So I'll take Jefferson and Ridley. And then this is a tight end question. Full PPR. We're playing one between Taysom, Kyle Pitts, or Will Dissly. Taysom Hill. I mean, he's going to do everything, right? He's going to play quarterback. He's going to play running back. He's going to play wide receiver. He's going to play tight end. He's going to play fullback. He's going to do everything for the Saints. He's going to do everything. Yep.
Yeah.
Give me Taysom Hill.
I think it's Taysom Hill. The other two don't interest me enough to entertain that conversation.
No. Pitts has been too inconsistent, and while we like Dissly, in certain circumstances, not over Taysom Hill. Appreciate the kind words. I do always try to give detailed answers and thoughts as opposed to just like 1 or 2 word answers. I know that is the MO for some streamers, but like to give a little bit more expanded thoughts here. Flex question: Jawan Jennings or Darnell Mooney?
Mooney.
Jennings has been good, but like the 49ers feel like they're getting more and more difficult to trust each week.
Yeah.
Mooney at home.
I think Mooney. But Jennings is he's linked up with Purdy too. It's the snow game though. I gotta go Mooney.
Snow, yeah, bad weather in Buffalo. Again, this like it can't be forgotten with the 49ers. Like, yes, Brock Purdy is back, but I think the key cog of that offense is Trent Williams, and not having him has proven to be a major roadblock for consistency for the 49ers offense when he doesn't play. On top of that, they don't have their starting left guard. Like, so the whole left side of their offensive line is missing in a road game in the snow. Like, yeah, it's hard to trust the 49ers offense right now. So I'll take Mooney. He's getting, like, him and London are getting force-fed the football recently, too. I mean, yeah, I'll take Mooney at home in the Dome. No weather concerns. And he's just been good. He's just been good. Yep. Greg, coming back with another with a defense question. You've been streaming Houston the past few weeks. That's worked out. Let's see. You have the Steelers for now. Steelers are playing the Bengals on the road. Houston has Jacksonville on the road. I mean, yeah, Houston's playing well right now, and I'd rather play a defense facing Trevor Lawrence than a defense facing Joe Burrow, even though obviously Pittsburgh's defense is better, but Houston's defense has been solid. They've been pretty good. Aren't they one of the league leaders in sacks?
Is Will Anderson, he's healthy, right?
I think so.
Why
do I think Houston is? I would go Houston.
Cincinnati, I mean, Burrow's just been so good. Like, I don't.
Houston is second in the NFL in sacks as a team defense. Houston is second in the NFL in sacks. I mean, Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, give me Houston. Give me Houston.
Yeah, Dallas D would have been nice for this week.
Yeah, right. I mean, look,
that's just a note on them, by the way, because they had some guys hurt earlier in the year with Parsons back.
Parsons is back. This Overshone has really emerged for them.
They've been better.
Yeah. So worth keeping an eye on, but also anybody playing the Giants is worth looking at as far as a defensive strength.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. It's okay. Houston should be fine. Trevor Lawrence will be less than 100% at best in all likelihood, and they just haven't been. They haven't been good.
Even when he was 100%, they were bad.
They're an absolutely perfectly fine offense to target for your defense. Yeah.
Yep.
And Mooney it is. Yeah, you got it. No problem. We are at the end of the chat at the moment. Appreciate everybody coming in, hanging out, spending some time with us this evening. and appreciate everybody's patience as we work through the questions. Special shout out to the members that I saw. I saw MVM, I saw Nino, and I saw Greg. Thank you guys so much for the support. We'll continue to take a few more questions here over the next few minutes, but we'll be probably looking to shut this down here shortly. I will be live again tomorrow for any last minute member questions. It'll be an 11 a.m. start time, 11 a.m. Eastern start time. Anybody has access to the stream. Members will have access to the chat tomorrow if any members need any last minute thoughts. Gus Edwards or Marvin Harrison in full PPR? Gus? Just go Gus because he should give you a decent floor play.
Yeah, he's going to get the work on the ground, so I think it's more reliable. Yeah.
Here's my one thing with Gus Edwards just to throw out.
Okay.
If it's a shootout, will they mix in Haskins and or Vidal enough of a rate where it makes Edwards like a frustrating guy to have in there? Whereas we know Marvin Harrison will be on the field regardless of situation. I'm just playing a little devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
You know,
I don't think so. I mean, we haven't really seen those guys yet, and we've seen Edwards out there, so
yeah,
I don't see why that would be the case.
Like Edwards was in the game for the Chargers when they were trailing on Monday Night Football against the Ravens, so I got to imagine that's a decent enough indicator that Edwards should be in there enough to give you like an RB. He can, if all goes well, he can give you like a boring RB2 play.
Yeah,
it might be gross. It might be it might not be it might not be the most fun thing to watch. But if he can bulldoze his way to 10 PPR points, that's decent as a floor play.
Yeah. I think he's got the floor.
Yeah, he can do the floor. If you need to be aggressive, if you're desperate, if you're a big underdog, I'm okay with swinging for the fences and playing Marvin Harrison in full PPR. But if it's an even matchup, if you feel good about your chances just in general, I would probably just play Gus. Just play Gus. Hey, Greg, thanks for stopping in. All right. We are at the end of the chat. So once again, one final time, I will be live tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. Anybody has access to the stream. Members will have access to the chat. If the members need any last minute thoughts, you can find me tomorrow. Again, 11 a.m. Eastern for a short time before the games kick off. Appreciate everybody coming in again one more time and hanging out with us. If you do not have the time or ability to access the streams closer to kickoff, you can also join my Discord. There's an evergreen invite in the second link in the description of this live stream and all the videos and streams on this channel. We are both in there. Will does a great job helping out, being active in there and answering questions. So if you need any thoughts, we are typically around to help out with any questions that you may have. And of course, you can always crowdsource from the community as well. But if there is nothing else, I believe that will do it for us for this evening. If you just missed this stream, you can, of course, your last option is to leave your question in the form of a comment on this stream, and I will answer it when I see it or as I have time. And we'll make sure that we have your most optimal starting lineup good to go for Week 13. Once again, shout out to my members. Appreciate the support. Thank you, everybody, for spending some time tonight. Will, appreciate you coming in, hanging out, helping to answer some questions, some start-sit questions at a critical juncture of the fantasy season with playoff spots in all likelihood hanging in the balance. Best of luck tomorrow. Let's get these dubs. Tomorrow. The Sunday slate is tomorrow. I'm a little turned around because of the holiday, but it is tomorrow. I will be live, members only on Sunday, and then again on Tuesday for Week 14 waivers with the fantasy regular season winding down. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for the time.
Night, guys.